Britain's racist jab in store. His reply shocks all. Welcome to our channel, where stories burn bright like a Savannah bonfire. Picture a Piggly Wiggly in George's heart. Sweet tea flowing, secrets simmering. Today, we're diving into a jaw-dropping showdown that'll shake your soul. Kaylee Rogers, a 19-year-old cheerleader, hurls a racist taunt, "Go back where you came from," at Samuel Harris, a 65-year-old black man, cool as a low-country breeze, grabbing a $2 box of tea. Her words, sharp as a switchblade, light a fuse in the 1,000-square-foot store, freezing shoppers mid-aisle from $3 peaches to $4 cereal. But Samuel? He's no stranger to hate. A retired journalist who marched 5 miles through Selma's tear gas, Samuel doesn't flinch. In his Atlanta Braves cap, he pulls a $1 photo from 1965, showing a white cop, Tom Bennett, who saved him. "Your grandpa, kid?" he asks Kaylee, voice like a blues riff. Her jaw drops. Tom's face looks like her dad's. The crowd erupts, sharing tales of Tom's kindness, turning aisle 2 into a juke joint of truth. Kaylee's sass crumbles, Savannah's 200-year history staring her down. Will she face her shame? Can one photo rewrite her story? We're dying to hear you. Comment below where you watching from. A Savannah porch or a city high-rise. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe, ring the bell. Tomorrow's story's another Southern stunner. Share your thoughts, join our campfire, and let's unravel this aisle. To drama. Dive in now. The Savannah sun baked the asphalt outside Piggly Wiggly, where sweet tea and gossip flowed like the Savannah River. Inside, the air buzzed under fluorescent lights, thick with Georgia's 90-degree heat and the tang of $3 barbecue sauce. Shoppers roamed the 1,000-square-foot store, tossing $2 cans of Coke and $5 bags of grits into carts. But in aisle 2, 50 feet from the checkout, the world stopped dead. A voice, young, sharp as a switchblade, cut through. "Go back where you came from!" It wasn't just words. It was a Molotov cocktail, lit in the heart of Dixie. Kaylee Rogers, 19, all blonde ponytail and southern sass, spat the line like a cheerleader taunting a rival team. Her $10 store apron flapped, her hands clenched a clipboard, blue eyes blazing. She aimed at Samuel Harris, a 65-year-old black man, cool as a Sunday breeze. In a crisp white shirt, Wrangler jeans, and an Atlanta Braves cap tipped low, he'd been eyeing a $2 box of Lipton tea. His only crime? A nod, quick and polite, like you'd give a buddy at a tailgate. But Kaylee's words weren't just shade. They were a slap, dragging up ghosts from Savannah's 200-year past, where cotton fields and chains still whispered. Samuel didn't blink. His hand hovered over the tea, steady as a preacher's, his eyes deep as a low-country marsh. The store froze. A mom by the $4 peaches dropped her basket, jaw tight. A guy in a Georgia Bulldogs tee, clutching $3 frosted flakes, spun around. It wasn't the heat making the air heavy. It was shame, raw and ugly, hanging like smoke in a juke joint. Everyone heard it. Kaylee's taunt wasn't just mean, it was a time machine, yanking the South back to days of separate but equal and signs no one dared read aloud. Kaylee stood tall, chin up, like she'd just hit a home run. She was a kid, raised on Snapchat and country radio, not Selma or sit-ins. History was just a boring class she'd slept through, not the blood in Georgia's red clay. But her words? They carried baggage, centuries of it. heavy as a pickup loaded with regrets. In Savannah, where every oak dripped with Spanish moss and secrets, where you came from wasn't just geography. It was a code, a dagger, a line drawn in the sand. Samuel, though, was built for this. A retired journalist who'd chased truth through 5 miles of Alabama riots and 30 years of newsrooms he'd heard uglier. His Braves cap shaded a face carved by time, but his stance, pure steel, like a coach before the 9th inning. He'd walked through fire, clubs, slurs, tear gas, and come out standing. Now, 10 feet from a $1.50 soda display, he wasn't about to buckle, not here, not to a kid who didn't know the weight of her own tongue. The crowd didn't budge. A cashier's scanner hiccuped, then died. In that cramped aisle, the gap between Kaylee and Samuel was a canyon, wide as the divide between ignorance and scars earned. This wasn't just a spat. It was Savannah's soul laid bare, a showdown under flickering lights. Aisle 2 wasn't an aisle anymore. It was a stage, and the South's history was stepping up to the mic. Something big was brewing, ready to crack open the past like a cold one at a Friday night game. The air in Piggly Wiggly's aisle 2 crackled, like a summer storm brewing over Savannah's marshes. Kaylee Rogers, 19, stood frozen, her $10 clipboard trembling, blonde ponytail stiff after spitting venom. "Go back where you came from." The words hung, heavy as Georgia heat, turning the 1,000-square-foot store into a pressure cooker. Shoppers, clutching $3 melons and $4 cereal, stared, their breaths caught. Samuel Harris, 65, stood 10 feet away, a black man in a white shirt, Wrangler jeans, and an Atlanta Braves cap, his hand still near a $2 box of Lipton tea. Her taunt was a fastball, but Samuel... He was ready to swing. He didn't flinch, didn't raise his voice. His eyes, deep as a low-country night, locked onto Kaylee's, steady, unyielding. The store's hum, beeping scanners, creaking carts, faded, like a radio losing signal. Samuel, a retired journalist who'd faced tear gas and slurs across 5 miles of Alabama's red dirt, knew this game. He'd written stories that shook newsrooms, stared down hate in 65. Now, in Savannah's heart, he turned, slow as a preacher stepping to the pulpit, and spoke, voice low, gravelly, like a blues riff. "You got a grandpa, kid." I might have known him. The question hit like a curveball, soft but deadly. Kaylee's blue eyes widened, her bravado flickering. She expected a fight, not this, a line that felt like it reached back decades, pulling history into aisle 2. Samuel's hand, steady as a coach's, dipped into his worn leather wallet, pulling out a $1 photograph, black and white, edges frayed like an old hymn book. He held it up, not to her, but to the air, like evidence in a courtroom. The photo showed 2 men on a Montgomery curb, 1965. A young Samuel, 25, shirt torn, eyes fierce. Beside him, Tom Bennett, a white cop, hand on Samuel's shoulder, badge glinting under Alabama sun. "Selma," Samuel said, voice cutting through the fluorescent buzz. "I marched for the vote. They came with clubs, dogs, the works." Tom Bennett, badge 2047, unlocked my cell, told me to run. His words weren't loud, but they landed like thunder, rolling through the 50-foot aisle. Kaylee's grip on her clipboard tightened, her cheeks flushing, not with pride now, but something else. Shame, maybe, or fear of being seen. The crowd didn't move. A mom by the $5 grits clutched her cart. A guy in a bulldog's tee leaned in, eyes wide. This wasn't just talk. It was a reckoning, Savannah's past stepping into the present like a ghost at a barbecue. Samuel didn't push, didn't preach. His Braves cap shaded a face carved by 30 years of truth-chasing, but his gaze held no anger, only weight, like he was teaching a class he'd taught 1,000 times. "Your grandpa, kid," he said, softer now. "Might have been a man like Tom." The photo hung between them, a bridge across time, daring Kaylee to look. Her lips parted. No sound came. She was a cheerleader, not a historian, but even she felt it, the weight of a South built on blood, sweat, and secrets, now staring her down in a $2 tea aisle. The lights flickered, or maybe it just felt that way. Aisle 2 wasn't a store anymore. It was a stage, and Samuel Harris was rewriting the script. Kaylee stood, caught in his gaze, her defiance crumbling like a sandcastle at Tybee Beach. Something bigger than her taunt was unfolding, something Savannah's 200-year soul knew well. History wasn't staying quiet, and neither was Samuel. The next pitch was coming, and it was gonna sting. The Piggly Wiggly on Abercorn Street held its breath, aisle 2 now a stage under Savannah's flickering lights. Samuel Harris, 65, stood tall, his Atlanta Braves cap casting a shadow, the $1 black and white photo in his hand a grenade of truth. His voice, low like a bluesman's strum, had just dropped a bomb. Tom Bennett, the white cop who saved him in Selma, 1965, might be Kaylee Rogers' grandpa. Kaylee, 19, clutched her $10 clipboard, blonde ponytail still, her defiance wilting like a Georgia peach left too long in the sun. The 1,000-square-foot store wasn't just a market anymore, it was a powder keg, and Samuel's words lit the fuse. Kaylee's blue eyes darted, searching for an out, but Samuel's gaze held her, not with anger, but with the weight of 5 miles marched through Alabama's red clay. The crowd, frozen by $3 melons and $4 cereal, leaned in, their silence louder than the store's humming fans. Then, from the end of the 50-foot aisle, a voice cracked the quiet, rough as gravel. "Tom Bennett." I knew him. Heads turned. A man, 50, in a denim jacket stepped forward, his $8 cart of canned beans and cat litter forgotten. He fixed my Chevy in '85 out on Victory Drive. "Never cared what color you were, just that you paid your $20 bill." The words hit like a fastball, and the store stirred. Samuel nodded, his Braves cap dipping, a coach acknowledging a play. Kaylee's cheeks flushed, her clipboard a shield she didn't know how to wield. Before she could blink, another voice piped up, frail but fierce, from the $2 egg display 20 feet away. An old woman, 70, leaned on her walker, white curls bouncing. "Tom Bennett saved my boy in '62, she said, voice sharp as a church bell. "Stopped a mob outside a diner on Bay Street right here in Savannah. Kept him from dragging him off. Good man." Her eyes locked on Kaylee, not accusing but knowing, like a grandma calling out a kid at Sunday dinner. The air shifted, heavy with more than Georgia's 90-degree heat. The store, once just linoleum and barcodes, turned into a juke joint of memory, each voice a chord in a song Savannah hadn't sung in years. A cashier, pausing her $5 an hour scan, murmured, "Heard he coached Little League 2 over on Skidaway." Whispers rippled like wind through magnolias, stitching together a man's legacy in a 1,000-square-foot cathedral. Kaylee stood, rooted, her sneakers glued to the floor, her taunt, "Go back where you came from," now a boomerang, slicing back. The crowd wasn't just watching. They were testifying, pulling history from the shadows like a Polaroid developing under neon. Samuel didn't speak, didn't need to. His photo, creased from 30 years in a wallet, did the talking, its $1 weight heavier than a gavel. Kaylee's hands shook, her cheerleader swagger gone, replaced by something raw. Fear, maybe, or the dawning sting of truth. The shoppers, from $3 soda cans to $6 bread loaves, formed a circle, not of judgment, but of reckoning. This wasn't just about her words or Samuel's past. It was Savannah, 200 years deep in cotton, blood, and redemption, waking up in aisle 2. The lights buzzed, the fans spun, but the store felt alive like a revival under a tent. Kaylee's breath hitched, her eyes darting to the photo, to Samuel, to the crowd. Something was building, bigger than her taunt, bigger than one man's story. Aisle 2 was a courtroom now, and Savannah's soul was on the stand, ready to speak truths no one could outrun. The Piggly Wiggly's aisle 2 pulsed like a Savannah juke joint, the air electric under humming fluorescence. Samuel Harris, 65, stood steady, his Atlanta Braves cap low, the $1 black and white photo in his hand a mirror to the past. His story of Tom Bennett, the white cop who saved him in Selma, 65, had turned the 1,000-square-foot store into a revival, with voices rising like a gospel choir. Kaylee Rogers, 19, gripped her $10 clipboard, blonde ponytail limp, her taunt, "Go back where you came from," now a noose tightening around her own pride. The crowd's memories of Tom's fairness, his courage, had cracked her armor, and Savannah's history was closing in. Kaylee's blue eyes flickered, caught in the photo's grayscale glare. Tom Bennett's jawline, sharp even in 1965, echoed her dad's, a ghost whispering he might be her grandpa. Her cheerleader swagger, built on $5 Starbucks runs and Friday night lights, crumbled. The 50-foot aisle felt like a courtroom, Samuel's calm gaze, the judge, the crowd, clutching $3 peaches, $4 cereal, a jury. She'd swung hard with her words, but Samuel's story, backed by a denim-jacketed mechanic and a $2 egg-buying grandma, hit harder. This wasn't just a spat, it was a reckoning, 200 years of Georgia's scars laid bare. Her hands shook, the clipboard slipping. She wanted to bolt, to drown out the truth with her phone's country playlist, but the store held her fast. Samuel didn't push, didn't preach. His Braves cap shaded eyes that had seen 5 miles of Alabama tear gas, and his silence spoke louder than a megaphone at a Bulldogs game. The mechanic's voice, "Tom fixed my Chevy, didn't care I was black." And the grandma's, "He saved my boy from a mob." Woven net Kaylee couldn't escape. Her taunt, tossed like a fastball, had been caught, and now the crowd was throwing it back. Kaylee's cheeks burned, not with the defiance of a Savannah teen, but with shame, hot as a 90-degree August day. She saw it now. Tom's face in the photo wasn't just a stranger's. It was family, maybe her own blood, staring back from a $1 relic. Her lips parted. No words came. The store's fans whirred, but the air felt still, like the hush before a storm over Tybee Beach. She wasn't just a kid who'd mouthed off. She was standing on ground her ancestors helped shape, ground Samuel's people had bled into, and she'd spat on it without a clue. Later, 5 miles away in a clapboard house off Victory Drive, Kaylee sat at a $50 IKEA table, the photo in her trembling hands. Her mom, pouring $2 sweet tea, froze when Kaylee whispered, "Was Grandpa Tom in Selma?" The question hung, heavy as Spanish moss. Kaylee's phone, usually blaring Morgan Wallen, lay silent. She wasn't sorry, not yet, but the photo's weight, like a Bible in a pew, pressed on her. She'd grown up cheering at $20 high school games, not reading about sit-ins. Now history wasn't just a dusty textbook. It was her grandpa, her blood, her shame. Back in aisle 2, the crowd stirred, carts creaking like old porch swings. Samuel tucked the photo away, his gaze soft but unyielding. Kaylee stood, no longer the loudmouth cheerleader, but a kid caught in Savannah's 200-year story. The store wasn't just a store anymore. It was a mirror, reflecting a South of pain, pride, and possibility. Kaylee's heart raced, her eyes locked on the linoleum. Something had shifted, not loud, not grand, but real. A seed was planted, and Savannah's soul was watching, waiting for it to grow. The Piggly Wiggly's aisle, 2 exhaled, its fluorescent lights buzzing like a Savannah summer storm. Samuel Harris, 65, tucked away his $1 photo, the black and white ghost of Tom Bennett fading into his wallet, but not from memory. His Atlanta Braves cap shaded eyes that had seen 5 miles of Selma's red dirt, and his calm had turned a 1,000-square-foot store into a crucible of truth. Kaylee Rogers, 19, stood clutching her $10 clipboard, blonde ponytail drooping, her taunt, "Go back where you came from," now ashes in her mouth. The crowd's voices, from a 3-melon mom to a $2 egg grandma, had woven a tapestry of Savannah's soul, and Kaylee's world was unraveling. But this wasn't the end. It was a beginning, and history was taking notes. Samuel stepped toward the checkout, his boots soft on linoleum, like a coach leaving the field after a hard-won game. He didn't gloat, didn't preach. His truth, laid bare in aisle 2, had planted something, a seed in Savannah's 200-year heart. The cashier, Walt, a 60-year-old with $5 an hour hands, paused his scanner, meeting Samuel's gaze. "Thank you, Mr. Harris," he whispered, voice thick, like he'd just heard a Sunday sermon. Samuel tipped his Braves cap, a wry smile breaking through. "Truth's always late, Walt, but it shows up." The beep of a $2 tea box felt like a gavel, sealing a moment bigger than any receipt. 5 miles away, in a clapboard house off Victory Drive, Kaylee sat at a $50 IKEA table, the photo of Tom Bennett trembling in her hands. Her mom, pouring $2 sweet tea, nodded slow. "That's your grandpa, Kaylee." Selma, 65, he never talked much, but he did write. Kaylee's phone, usually blasting $10 Spotify country, lay silent. She wasn't the cheerleader who'd mouthed off in aisle 2. She was a kid staring into a mirror of history, her grandpa's jawline a map to a South she'd never known. No apology came, not yet, but her eyes, fixed on the photo's $1 weight, burned with questions like a Tybee Beach bonfire at dusk. Back in Samuel's 300-square-foot kitchen, a $2 teacup steamed, the second one cold, untouched for 3 years since his wife passed. He stirred mint leaves, gazing past his porch light into Savannah's dark, where magnolias whispered and history hummed like a juke joint tune. He didn't replay aisle 2, didn't need to. A journalist who'd chased truth through 30 years of newsrooms, he knew some stories don't need retelling. They root deep, like oaks on Abercorn Street. The moment with Kaylee wasn't a win. It was a spark, one Savannah's soul would carry, quiet but fierce. The next morning, the Piggly Wiggly opened at 7 a.m., carts creaking, $4 cereal flying off shelves. No plaque marked aisle 2, no news van rolled up. But something lingered, like the scent of $3 peaches after a rain. Shoppers nodded at Walt, their hellos warmer, their glances longer. Across town, Kaylee tucked the photo in her $20 backpack, her steps to class heavier, her mind replaying Samuel's words like a sad country song. She wasn't changed, not fully, but history had whispered, and she was listening. Savannah woke, its 90-degree heat wrapping the city like a quilt. Samuel sipped his tea, Kaylee stared at her grandpa's face, and aisle 2 stood quiet, a 50-foot stretch of linoleum now sacred. The South's scars from cotton fields to sit-ins hadn't vanished, but in one grocery store, truth had spoken. It wasn't loud, wasn't grand, but it was real. A $1 photo, a $2 tea box, a 19-year-old's shame, a 65-year-old's grace. History doesn't shout, but it stays. And Savannah, 200 years deep, was proof. Even late, truth builds bridges, one aisle at a time. Hey, Savannah storytellers! Ain't that Piggly Wiggly showdown a gut punch? Samuel Harris, cool as a Georgia breeze, turned a kid's taunt into a history lesson that shook aisle 2. From his $1 photo to the crowd's memories, this tale's got heart, grit, and Southern soul. We're itching to hear your thoughts. Did Samuel's grace hit home? Got a story of truth cutting through hate like a low-country sunrise? Drop it in the comments. Where you watching from? A Savannah porch, a city loft, or halfway across the globe? Your voice lights up our campfire. If this story stirred you, smash that like button, hit subscribe and ring the bell. Tomorrow's tale's another slice of real, Kaylee's reckoning, Samuel's stand. It's all about roots, y'all. Share where you're at, what hit you hardest, and let's keep this juke joint humming. Ever faced a moment where history spoke loud? Tell us. Every comment fuels our $2 tea-fueled stories, so grab that keyboard and join the revival. What's your take on Savannah's soul? Where's your spot on the map?
Let's hear it, and we'll catch you tomorrow for more truth, straight up Southern style.